Hey everyone, it's Ryan 1940 here. Today we're taking a look at sea-powered naval combat in the Missile Age, and this is a video about PHOTOEXs because we're doing Operation PHOTOEX, which is the final mission in the Task Force 75.3 series by iBlank. I'll link that in the description. Definitely go check that pack of missions out if you haven't. It's probably the best one, or one of the best in the whole game, in my opinion. Let's hit play here and talk about the photo. Oh, it's alright. Coming out of the water, that's pretty neat. What is a PHOTOEX? And that's basically when they all take a photo at the end of the mission, or at the end of the exercise, sorry. And I think iBlank kind of made a joke about that in the briefing. Yeah, as a good naval officer, you know that without the photo to end the operation or exercise, then it didn't even happen. It's just kind of making fun of the fact that there is always a PHOTOEX, and usually it's at the end of the missions. Sometimes you'll have it during a group sail, like within the exercise, because some of the exercise isn't like a day long. It could be weeks. It can go like a month. Hopefully it doesn't go a month, but like some of them go for quite a ways of time. Yeah, and with a PHOTOEX, we're basically just going to manage our station keeping. And so you can imagine it being completely stressful on the bridge if you're a junior officer standing the OD. Probably have the XO and the CO up there watching you like a hawk to make sure you're not the guy that is the reason why the photo looks messed up, because you're just not in the right exact spot. They often use those photos for the press releases. So if you go on like Department of the Navy's website or Department of Defense website, whenever there's an exercise, it's usually going to be talked about in brief detail, like a little summary of what was going on and who was participating in it, and they'll show this photo that comes from the PHOTOEX usually. If you ever want to see the source of the PHOTOEX photos with high resolution, you can go on dvids.net. That is the repository for the Department of Defense video and photos. So everything's posted there. That's all in class, and you can get really high detailed images. And if you look at those images in high detail, you'll notice you're going to be hard pressed to find like anybody standing around in those photos. And the reason for that is when they're doing a PHOTOEX, they secure the weather decks. And that's because they don't want, you can imagine how kind of unprofessional it looks like if you're just chipping and painting and you got your shirt off or whatever, doing whatever on the weather deck. So you're not allowed outside when they do that. If you are a watch center topside, they'll usually have you tuck away and hide somewhere, so you're out of view. And what they'll tend to use is an SH-60, or I guess those are gone now. They'll probably use an MH-60, Sierra Romeo. And there'll be a photographer who sits on the open up the side door there, and then they snap a bunch of pictures, all different angles. Most of the ones that you see, the common one is like right off the front, looking straight back. And if you ever Google image search like Navy ship formations, I guarantee you're looking at photos from PHOTOEXs, because those are not formations we use that we would want to use in the game for operations. And I think a lot of people get that idea from just watching Google images and not understanding that that's all a photo op. It's not, how fleets are normally sailing. In fact, if you look at Fighting the Fleet, that book, they talk about dispersion and massing your forces just for an attack. So when we're actually transiting the ocean, it's really common you don't see the other ships of the group that you're sailing with at all. You might see them during the time when you unwrap, but then you all disperse again. And that's by design, because we don't want, if you can think about if somebody saw a group of ships all sailing together, of course they would report that. If they saw one ship, they kind of wouldn't piece together maybe that they're part of a bigger force that's spread out, 250 nautical miles, right? So you want to mass everything for an attack and then disperse again. All right, here comes the PHOTOEX part. Nice. So this is the usual angle that you see in PHOTOEXs, is like the B-52 or the big bomber flying right down the middle, and then usually they're kind of flanked with fighters or something like that. But here we've got the B-52 that we saw in Chagos, and the P-3s we've seen throughout, Operation Black Bear, Chagos, trying to think of some of the other ones. Oh yeah, it's a great mission. this whole great series of missions, and I really like that this was included, because this is just one of those things that is a part of Navy life. You know, you don't really understand it or see it unless you've done it. I'm trying to think of the biggest formation I was ever in, and I definitely was not in RIMPAC. Like, luckily, I've always avoided it. I was stationed in Hawaii on the DDG, and RIMPAC, when that happens, it's the Rim of the Pacific exercise, for those that don't know, and it is a ton of nations visiting Hawaii to all participate in this exercise. It's a giant war game, and it kind of sucks because there's just no room for it. If you could imagine a ship like moored up along a pier, they take up the pier space, right? All the pier space gets taken up real fast, so they end up having to nest ships together. So you'll have, when I say a nested, it's you kind of put out the Yokohamas, it's what we call those big rubber bumpers, and put them out on the outboard side, and then a ship will nest up to you. They'll put out their bumpers on the outboard side, and another ship will nest up to them. So it kind of sucks if you're on the outboard ship, or the furthest outboard one. You know, you can't just walk to the pier. You have to request permission to come aboard and all that kind of stuff, or permission to cross, and keep doing that. And if you're hauling trash to get to the dumpster on the pier, you got to do that a million times. It's just a hassle. But I'm assuming it's pretty fun to do a giant war game like that. And if you ever look at those RIMPAC PHOTOEXs that they have at the end, they are the most impressive displays of naval capability and firepower that can be amassed, because you often have 2 or 3 carriers in it. You might have a few amphibs as well, and then a ton of cruisers and destroyers and frigates from all the different nations, and the submarines as well. It's just impressive. And the crazy thing about that, and you kind of see it in PHOTOEX, is the level of interoperability that we can all, from different countries, sail together in a seamless fashion, just because we all have the same sort of tactics and procedures that we train to. So it's kind of easy to just bolt on a force, and we're all not figuring it out on the fly. For me, when we were doing RIMPAC, our ship would always pretty much be on deployment in 5th Fleet, so we'd be operating on deployment and miss the whole shebang. I don't know how it is today, but I heard back in the day, when foreign ships visit a naval base, it's customary to play your anthem and then play their anthem. And so, you know, in Hawaii, a lot of times you'll have like Japanese ships coming to visit for training or whatever, and you'll play their anthem after yours, and it's not a big deal, right? But if you can imagine RIMPAC, they used to play like every anthem. So like the morning colors at 8 o'clock, when they play the American anthem, they play all the other nations there too. There could be like 20 other nations. So like the whole of morning colors would go like 20 minutes long or 30 minutes long. It was ridiculous. And the whole time you have to stand there and be respectful and salute, right? You're saluting their anthem, and you just get trapped. So I think after a while they were like, this is totally crazy. And so people correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that they ended up changing it so that you only do a few nations. You'll do the colors for a few nations, and like every day it'll change to be another set of countries, just to keep things from being 30 minutes long. You can't walk. The whole base shuts down when you're doing colors, just to be respectful. Like, so yeah, that's that. I never had to worry about that. In terms of PHOTOEXs, they secure the weather decks, and like this reminds me, the other times they secure the weather decks is if it's horribly stormy out, they don't want people going over the side. And obviously at nighttime the weather decks will be secured because they wouldn't see you if you fell in, and so they don't want you walking around. And another thing was flight ops, and flight ops for a small frigate or destroyer, they don't secure the whole weather decks. They only secure like a portion of it. And oh my god, what is this guy doing? Okay, Jacksonville, man, what are you doing? All right, let's keep going straight, bud. Okay. Jeez. Okay, yeah, I lost my train of thought there. Yeah, they'll secure it. They'll say the weather decks are secured aft of frame like 315 is what I remember. So I don't remember if that was for the destroyer or the frigate, but that number is burned in my head, aft of frame 315. And what that means is there's a frame, if you're looking at a ship, starting at the front, frame number 1, and you keep going all the way over. Every bit is a frame, and that goes all the way back aft like that. And that's part of the addressing system on the ship. So if you look at a bullseye, it's those markings on the bulkhead. It'll show what deck you're on. It'll show what frame you're at, or what frame that doorway's at. It'll show you the frames that are in that space. So if it's like a big space or a small space, you can see that by how many frames it traverses, and it'll give you the center line orientation. So it's port even, starboard odd. So depending on if it's a 1, it's a starboard side, or 2, it's the port side, and then 0 is center line. And you've got let's see here. There's also like a letter attached to the end of that. So it'll be like Charlie or Lima, and that'll tell you if it's like a combat system space or a living space, so like a berthing, all kinds of stuff. Anyways, as I say, after 315, you can't cross. And one time I was topside over here, and I don't know what I was doing. I used to be a duty gunner's mate, so I did gunner's mate things on duty when we're in port, but underway I was always a sonar tech. But I might have been helping the gunner's mates do some things because I was out here for whatever reason. And these are the CWIS RSLs, so they hold the ammunition and stuff for the CWIS gun. RSLs are ready service lockers. You don't see them on the model here, but there would be ready service lockers all over the place, and they'll be little white boxes, and they're filled with small arms. So they'll be filled with like machine gun ammo for the 50 cals or the 240s. On an OHP, the 50 cals usually are up here, and then you've got I think like one or two back here, and then you got the 240s out on the bridge. Anyways, and there was also a 25 mic athwart ships. Some of the other ones had 25 mics where the one-armed bandit was replaced. But anyways, I was doing something up here, and I didn't hear this, and I thought I saw a helicopter out on the horizon. And I was like, oh, cool. And I was coming towards it, so I thought, oh, they're going to do a flyby or something, because a lot of times when aircraft are near a ship, like military aircraft, they'll request to do a flyby, and they the 1MC, the announcement system, will tell everybody on the ship that they're going to do a flyby. And so it's kind of like a morale boosting thing. You can go out topside and just watch a cool fighter jet like buzz the ship or something, or a helicopter buzz the ship. And I'm an aviation enthusiast. I love seeing that kind of stuff. So I'm sitting back there and I'm like, oh, cool, so I'm gonna be able to watch it. And I can't hear much of anything because the stack here is like pretty loud when the engine's going full speed. And I noticed the helicopter's not like coming alongside, it's like coming to line up into land. And that spot there where I was at is definitely out of bounds. Like, you are not allowed to be there during flight ops. And the reason why they block people from going past a certain distance is because they don't want the risk of you releasing something that's going to be ingested into the aircraft and cause danger to the aircraft and the crew. So the big one is wearing a hat. If you have a hat topside outside during flight quarters, that's a no-no, because you don't want that to be ingested. If that gets blown off your head by the wind and then gets randomly sucked into their jet engine. So anyways, the way that SH-60s come into land, they kind of line up with this deck edge here, and then they come right over the landing spot and they go vertically straight down. So I'm standing there terrified because I can see the pilots, like, what it looks like is like they're staring at me. Really, they're looking at some sort of position to help get their relative motion in check to land. And I can't escape to go to the area that I'm supposed to be in, because like where I was at over here, you can see the bridge wing guys are just right there, and they can look out back aft, and they are looking back aft because they like watching helicopters land, and they also are watching for like safety in case there's anything bad that happens. And so I'm like trapped there, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna get hooked up. And I for sure thought the helicopter crew was gonna say something, and I couldn't escape because the nearest path to get down, I think, was there was a hatch over here, somewhere around here, and that would go down to the P-way that was connecting. There's an elevator, and there was the magazine for the 50 or 76, and the EXO stateroom was somewhere around here. So I couldn't go down because, one, those guys would see me, and if the EXO was in his stateroom and he had his door open, he'd see me come down and be like, what the hell are you doing? What were you doing up there? And I simply didn't hear the words being passed. Luckily, nobody dimed me out. I didn't get in trouble, but it was pretty wild. Like, I was completely safe, but the perspective you have of the blades coming towards you that close to your body, like, it was amazing. I was quite shocked. But yeah, never go topside past frame 315. I don't remember if that was for the DDG, so if somebody does know, let me know in the comments. I might have been remembering that from my DDG and not the frigate. They are different. They're, you know, the frames are all different, obviously, based on the length of the ship and how big these spaces are and stuff like that. So they're all not the same. On the DG, actually, we don't have a model in the game, but of the Arleigh Burke, you couldn't go past the 3-gen stack. So there was a generator. If you think of a Flight 1 Arleigh Burke, there's the flight deck, and there's kind of a room here. There's a torp mag on the port side. There's like a little helo control tower like along the base of the deck, and there's the entrance to go to the main deck into the ship. There's no hangars, and above that helo control tower in the center there, and above the torpedo magazine, there's a kind of a small set of smokestack. I think it's 1 or 2, and those guys go to 3-gen, which is a gas turbine generator, and then there's the VLS missile deck, and you were not allowed to go aft of, I think it was the beginning of that VLS deck. So that's also where the harpoons would be. It was the missile deck is what we called it, and that's where the harpoons would be stacked up also. Yeah, so, but for the FFG, I think you were not allowed to go aft of the gun. So I couldn't get to that hatch, and if I got to that hatch, it'd be obvious that I was up where I wasn't supposed to be, and I just couldn't slink away without being caught. Anyways, this video is going pretty long. Yeah, that was a short mission by iBlank called Operation PHOTOEX. It's the last in the series of Task Force 75.3. If you haven't played it, I highly recommend you try it out. It's a really fun set of missions. It's one of the most realistic ones you come across, and how the scenarios are created and what happens in the scenarios is all really plausible and really enjoyable. So definitely go check it out. I'll have it linked below. And yeah, if you have any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll get to them as soon as possible. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.